If you guys have seen my channel recently, you will know that I've been doing a lot of Pikmin content, because I love the series and I would consider it to be some of the best games I've ever played. As you probably know, this video is a ranking of all the areas from the Pikmin series. I've wanted to do this for a while now, so I hope you enjoy. Before I get any further, this ranking will not include caves from Pikmin 2, because there are way too many of them and it would get pretty repetitive. But if you guys want it, then I can make a tier list on just the caves. This video will also not be going over anything in Hey Pikmin, because that game is an abomination to this franchise. Aside from that, we are ranking all the areas in all of Pikmin. So let's get started. In the number 14 spot, we have the final trial from Pikmin 1. If you've played through Pikmin 1, it should be pretty obvious why this is last place. It's the final area of Pikmin 1, hence the name, and there is only one ship part there. And the whole area is basically a glorified boss fight. You go there for one day to solve a very simple puzzle, and then throw some bombs at a giant Bulborb, which is the most important thing yellow Pikmin do in the whole game, fun fact. Then when the giant Bulborb dies, you get the final ship part and you beat the game. But the best part about this whole place is that it's completely optional. There are 3 endings to Pikmin 1. The bad ending, the good ending, and the best ending. The bad ending happens if you went all 30 days without getting the 25 mandatory ship parts. And the good ending happens if you go all 30 days, but you get the 25 mandatory ship parts. In total, there are 30 parts in the game, which leaves 5 optional ship parts to get the best ending. Now, like I said earlier, there is only one ship part at the final trial. And as you can probably guess from how much I'm talking about it, that one ship part is one of the 5 optional ones. So unless you really want to get the best ending, then you can just leave, not even go here, just finish the game without it. The music here is also a little weird and awkward to listen to at first, but after a bit you kind of understand it and it's kind of nice to listen to. But at that point, you're fighting the boss and you're too focused on that to listen to the music, so it just becomes too good too late. Now, just because it is the worst place, doesn't mean that it doesn't serve its purpose. It's made to be a glorified boss fight, and it was indeed a glorified boss fight. But I'm not ranking areas based on if they did its job well. I'm ranking it based on if it's the best area in the whole franchise. And the final trial is definitely not that. Number 13 on the list is the Formidable Oak from Pikmin 3. The Formidable Oak is very similar to the final trial, as in it is also a glorified boss fight, but it is much more fine-tuned this time around, because it's Pikmin 3, so it's 2 games in the future, and the boss is more enjoyable. And by enjoyable, I mean really underwhelming, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Back to the puzzle section, it's more like a maze rather than a puzzle this time around, and me having played through it recently, I found that it is way faster and easier than the previous times that I've played it. Now, I don't know if that's because I've gotten better after playing it before, or if the deluxe version is easier, but the fact is that it's still easier the more you play the game, which makes the game's replay value worse. Now, actually talking about the maze, the first part of the maze is a big room with a bridge, which is completely skippable. If you just grab the bombs you get right before this room and blow up a stone wall at the very beginning, which is very lame and just makes it less enjoyable. But after that, there is a dark room where you have to get some bridge pieces and turn on some lights, all the while you're being chased by the Plasma Wraith, which is much better because it makes the game more tense and feels like an actual challenge. Except, you can completely remove the Plasma Wraith from this challenge. The whole point of the maze is to try and carry Captain Olimar out of the maze while the Plasma Wraith tries and take Olimar from you. Once you get into the dark room, you'll notice there's a big pool of water in the middle of the room. And if you just walk into the water with Brittany, because Olimar will follow Brittany, and stay there, the Plasma Wraith won't be able to go in, because he can't go into water. And so now he just wanders around, doesn't even follow you. So now you can just have Alf and Charlie solve the rest of the puzzle without having to worry about him. So now the entire tense and challenging part of the maze is completely gone. And then after that, you're outside of the Formidable Oak. Now for the second part, which is the actual boss fight, it is more fun than the Emperor Bullblacks, but it still isn't very fun or challenging. The fact that you have the onion right next to the fight means that you literally can't lose as long as you have Pikmin in the onion. And at this point, you should have at least 100 of each type of Pikmin because this is the end of the game. The rock Pikmin also can't be killed by his normal attacks. and all of his elemental attacks are stationary, so they can't hit the rock Pikmin unless you're blind. When he does throw out the elemental attacks though, you only need 5 of whatever Pikmin you need to break the box in the middle of it, and then you just pull the rock Pikmin out again. The rock Pikmin make this fight way too easy. So all in all, the maze is really fast and easy once you realize you can skip the first bridge and place Brittany in the water to prevent the Wraith from attacking you, and then you just spam rock Pikmin at the Wraith during the actual fight at the end. The next area on the list at number 12 is the Impact Site from Pikmin 1. The Impact Site is the first area in the entire series, serving as a tutorial for the player during Pikmin 1. But it isn't much more than that. The only thing this place is used for after day 1 is to get the second ship part there, and to farm Pikmin using the pearls appropriately named Pearly Clam Clamps drop. These pearls give 50 Pikmin per pearl, and there are 3 there every day. So this area is very useful for farming Pikmin. Other than the second ship part and the pearls, there are 2 secret enemies, those 2 being the Mamuta and the Gulix. The Mamuta shows up on even days from day 8 and onward, and the Gulix shows up on odd days from day 9 and onward. The Mamuta isn't a particularly dangerous enemy, seeing as it doesn't actually kill your Pikmin. Instead it buries your Pikmin, which then your Pikmin instantly sprout flowers. So the Mamuta is more useful than harmful. Just don't let it bury all 100 of your Pikmin on the field, because then it could be very hard to kill, because the Mamuta does a lot of damage to Olimar, and isn't very helpful if you die. Then you have the Gulix, which is actually dangerous. If you don't bring blue Pikmin, that is. Because it is made of water. So it can't hurt blue Pikmin. You then have to throw the Pikmin onto a volleyball brain looking thing inside of it to kill it. Then when it dies, it gives you some pellets. So pretty pointless because you can just get the pearls. All of this makes the Impact Site a very useful place for farming Pikmin, with a few cool Easter eggs, but not much more than that. Next up on the list is the Distant Tundra from Pikmin 3. Now that we are past the 3 objectively worst areas in the series, we are moving on to the first quote-unquote real area in the series. The Distant Tundra looks very beautiful because it is from Pikmin 3, but it just feels so small and empty. Once you beat the boss there, you have almost the entire area unlocked. The only stuff that you still can't get to is in the water, but once you get the blue Pikmin to be able to go in the water, there's about 10 minutes worth of stuff to get there, and then you leave and never come back. There's nothing else to get there. The enemies are also very sparse. It feels like there's only 1 or 2 enemies per room, and most of them die in 3 seconds. So once you're halfway through the day, the enemies in your way are already dead, and now the tundra is empty and lifeless. But it is still an actual area with beautiful scenery compared to the other 3, so it stays at the number 11 spot. Number 10 on the list is the Twilight River from Pikmin 3. This place, like the Distant Tundra, looks beautiful because it's Pikmin 3 and the music is great, but the gameplay here isn't really fun. We'll start with the elephant in the room, the lily pads. Now I think the lily pad mechanic is very cool in theory and fits the design of the area very well, but when you actually play with it, it feels so slow to use, especially in a real-time strategy game. It just makes the place feel awkward and slow to move around, which makes for a much less enjoyable experience. The boss here is incredibly underwhelming as well, to the point that I regularly forget what the heck it even is. Unless you're 8 years old, you shouldn't lose a single Pikmin to this boss. Its attacks are very slow and predictable, so you can very easily dodge them. And even after that, he gives you an opportunity to save your Pikmin if they somehow get caught. Then you knock him to the ground and his health plummets. Last time I fought him, he died so fast he wasn't able to use all 3 of his equally easy to dodge attacks because his health got deleted faster than you can save Pikmin. Finally, and this is definitely not biased in any way, shape, or form, but the winged Pikmin are found here and rock Pikmin are superior to them in all ways. On to number 9 with the Wistful Wild from Pikmin 2. The first area from Pikmin 2 on this list, the Wistful Wild, is another fall season area, kind of like the Twilight River, but this place has a lot less lily pads while still looking and sounding great. The music is an absolute vibe and I can't help but hum along to it whenever I'm in this area. The coolest part about this place is that it combines the two worst areas from Pikmin 1, being the final trial and the impact site, into a bigger and much more impressive area in Pikmin 2. Granted, it is still the worst area from Pikmin 2, but there's only so much the two worst areas from Pikmin 1 can do. The Wistful Wild also adds a ton more enemies to the above ground area, and while they're all cool looking, almost all of them make the Wistful Wild more annoying than fun. Like the Gatling Groink that goes around and shoots your Pikmin into oblivion and is really annoyingly hard to kill. Other than that, the place also feels very small because the final trial and the impact site put together doesn't make the place all that big. You can walk from one end to the other in like 40 seconds. So other than the caves, there isn't much else to explore here, which is what keeps this place at number 8. The next area on the list at number 8 is the Garden of Hope from Pikmin 3. The Garden of Hope and the Wistful Wild were both very close for which would be number 9 or number 8, but I think the Garden of Hope is slightly better than the Wistful Wild, because while it doesn't look or sound as good as the Wistful Wild, the Garden of Hope has way more stuff to do, between all the puzzles it has and also serving as a semi-tutorial for the player. Pretty much everything the Wistful Wild offers is in the caves, and like I said, I'm not ranking the areas with caves in mind. The Garden of Hope is one of, if not the biggest area in Pikmin 3, because you can go there at the very beginning of the game, and then you come back later near the end to open up a much larger section when you have the blue Pikmin. The Garden of Hope is also the only area in the franchise to have 2 unique bosses above ground, which makes it more memorable. The environment looks nice and it feels like an actual garden, and the music helps with that too by sounding natural and sunny in a way. This area is also home for the Rock Pikmin, and once again, I'm not biased, but the Rock Pikmin are the superior Pikmin, and for these reasons the Garden of Hope sits comfortably in the number 7 spot. From number 8 to number 7, next on the list is the Forest of Hope from Pikmin 1. This is the second area you go to in Pikmin 1 and in the entire series. The place is very well done. The place looks nice and green while still keeping the area mostly made out of dirt, surprisingly. It feels like you're walking on a hiking trail in a way. The music here is also very calming and chill to listen to, which helps while gathering the 8 ship hearts here. This area has a lot more to offer when you come back as well, because early on, before you get the blue Pikmin, you are only able to get 5 of the 8 ship parts, and the other 3 parts either have a unique boss, like the Armored Cannon Beetle and Burrowing Snagrid, or a chill puzzle like the Sagittarius. Also, because this is the first game, the area looks kind of dull and foggy, which while the foggy part is a little weird, it still works well with the area, and the dull atmosphere of the place looks amazing. It makes you feel like you're walking through a shady forest, and for these reasons, the Forest of Hope is at number 7. Coming up next on the list at number 6 with the Valley of Repose from Pikmin 2. The Valley of Repose is another winter-type area like Distant Tundra. It serves as the tutorial area for Pikmin 2, and it serves that job very well. The wintry environment makes a lack of wildlife in the tutorial area normal, because there shouldn't be too many enemies in a tutorial. But unlike the Distant Tundra, when you come back to the Valley of Repose, there is more to do. Once you bring blue Pikmin there, you unlock the bigger section of an area, which has lots more enemies, and makes it feel alive, while still having less enemies for the tutorial. It's a freaking genius idea! Aside from that, the Valley of Repose's music also sounds very wintry, and also helps to keep the place feeling lively. So in the end, the Valley of Repose is basically the Distant Tundra if it felt alive and had better music. So that's why it's in the number 6 spot. Now for the number 5 spot on the list, the Tropical Wilds from Pikmin 3. The Tropical Wilds is what I believe to be the best area from Pikmin 3. It looks absolutely stunningly beautiful. It looks like what I would think a tropical wild would look like. The fruits there are also really cool and unique from the rest in the game. Like when I found the banana, I laughed for a good couple of minutes because how in the world are you supposed to juice a banana? Like actually, how are you supposed to juice a banana? But they make it work. There are also some very nice puzzles there, like the seesaw blocks in the first bridge you have to build to get to the Mearslug boss. Not too hard, but also not too easy. The Tropical Wilds also has a cool mini-boss called the Hairy/Baldy Longlegs, which for some reason killed more of my Pikmin than any other enemy did in the whole game on my last playthrough. If you play this area efficiently, then you should only have to come here 3 to 4 times, and each time is very enjoyable. The first time is as the tutorial, which helps to show off the graphics of the game which look amazing, Then the second time when you come to fight the third boss, and it helps to show you how much stuff there is in the tropical wilds, gives you access to most of it, while teasing the places you still can't get to. Then the third and fourth time you come here, after you get the blue Pikmin, you can access all the small secret areas in the water, which are all really cool and interesting. Each time I come here, I have more fun than anywhere else in the game, and that is why the Tropical Wilds is the best place from Pikmin 3 and the number 5 spot on this list. Next up at number 4 is the Awakening Wood from Pikmin 2. The Awakening Wood is the Pikmin 2 version of Pikmin 1's Forest of Hope, meaning the whole layout of the area is identical, but everything there has been repurposed in some way, and it fits in so seamlessly. The Awakening Wood also has some amazing music, and at this point you should expect pretty much every area to have amazing music, but the Awakening Wood's music is especially good. It sounds like you're marching, which is perfect for the second area when you're barely starting your adventure and you don't know what's in store for the rest of the game, but you're excited to find out. The Awakening Wood also has way better graphics compared to the Forest of Hope. It is now even more green and alive, perfect for the area that represents the season of spring in Pikmin 2. The Awakening Wood is also the area you find the blue Pikmin, and while the blue Pikmin aren't my favorite, it introduces them perfectly. Imagine you arrive at the Awakening Wood for the first time. At this point, you have beat the tutorial, and you have 2 types of Pikmin, red and purple, and you have gone through 1 cave, so you know how the game works, but you don't know what to expect from the rest of the game. So you withdraw your Pikmin from the onion, but you find out that you can only bring 95, rather than the normal 100 for some reason. So you check the map to see what is happening, and as you scroll up, you see a blue onion with a few dots around it. You immediately realize it's the blue Pikmin from Pikmin 1, and you run over there to check it out. But as you get closer, you see a strange gate with electricity pulsating around it, and there are 5 blue Pikmin behind it. So you know the blue Pikmin are there, but you just can't reach them yet. It makes you really excited to play because you want to find out how you get the blue Pikmin. When you find the yellow Pikmin later, and see that they are now immune to electricity, you immediately remember the blue Pikmin and that they are behind an electric gate. And now you can use the yellow Pikmin to break down said electric gate. It's just so expertly introduced to you. It keeps you hooked to the game right from the very beginning. With all this though, there are still 3 areas that I believe to be better than the Awakening Wood. We are now at the final 3. Now I really like all these areas, but I like 2 of them more than the other obviously. So in third place, we have the Perplexing Pool from Pikmin 2. The Perplexing Pool is the best area from Pikmin 2. Everything it does is done better. The music is better, the environment is better, the gameplay is better, and the secrets are better. Let's start with the environment. This area is based on the season of summer, which means greenery is very common. But it isn't called the Perplexing Pool for nothing, because there is water everywhere. This water isn't very intrusive though, meaning you can still explore this area without blue Pikmin. Once you do get blue Pikmin, there's still plenty of space to explore, because the Perplexing Pool is one of, if not the biggest area in the game. But it doesn't stop there. The music of this area, like all the other areas, is amazing. It's fast and upbeat, which is awesome to listen to while exploring the beautiful environment. The Perplexing Pool, as the name would suggest, also has lots more puzzles compared to the other areas in Pikmin 2. But these puzzles aren't hard or anything. They're chill and a small challenge to do to get a few treasures. So if you're not trying to 100% the game, these puzzles don't get in your way. The Perplexing Pool also adds things to the area as the days go on, which is unique to this area. On day 10, dwarf bull bears will start spawning in the Perplexing Pool area, which isn't all that bad, and it's pretty cool. On day 30 though, is where it gets insane. Now, there is an adult bull bear that walks around freely and can even go into your onion area. Nowhere is safe from it. And when you kill it, if you don't bring its body back to the onions, then it will come back to life and keep chasing you down. And if that wasn't enough, there's also a beady freaking longlegs that spawns right outside of the spawn area. So imagine if both of those were in the same spot at the same time. It would be a Pikmin bloodbath. But it doesn't feel unfair, because you have to wait until 30 days. So it does everything better than any other Pikmin 2 area, as well as gets harder the longer the game goes on, which is just so cool. We only have 2 more areas left to rank now, but before that, we have an honorable mention, or should I say a dishonorable mention, because there is one more area that is worse than even the final trial. And that is, drumroll please, the overworld from Pikmin Bloom. Need I say more? It is now time for the final two. They are both very close, and it was very hard to choose which one was better, but in the end, the number 2 spot goes to the Distant Spring from Pikmin 1. Now don't get me wrong, the Distant Spring is amazing, and like I said, it was a very close choice, but there is one factor that makes the area in first place better, but I'll get to that when we get there. For now, let's talk about the Distant Spring. The Distant Spring is the Pikmin 1 version of the Perplexing Pool, and so it has a lot of the same things that make the Perplexing Pool so great, but the older style of Pikmin 1 makes it weirdly better. If you remember earlier when I was talking about the Forest of Hope, the whole area seemed dim and foggy, but at the Distant Spring, it is way brighter rather than dim, and it works really well for the watery and summer area. The fog also works really well here because it just feels natural in the humid environment. Speaking of the environment here, it is the most green area in the whole game, and it feels so alive. There are enemies everywhere, and they're all super enjoyable. The Distant Spring also has the most ship parts of all the areas in Pikmin 1, which helps you to enjoy it even more. This amazingly beautiful environment goes along well with the music that, unlike the Perplexing Pool's music, is calmer and slower, but it's still perfectly done. I don't know how to explain it, but it sounds like sitting in a lounge chair on a private tropical beach and slowly going to sleep. At this point in the game, you have access to everything at any place, because you have all 3 Pikmin, so you can go as slow as you want, as long as you want. So long as you don't go past 30 days, obviously. But that shouldn't happen if you know how to play the game. And if you're at the Distant Spring, then I hope you know how to play the game by now. The Distant Spring also has a secret enemy, kind of like the Perplexing Pool's secret beady longlegs. If you go to the Distant Spring before day 16, and then go south of the onions, then you'll find this weird looking egg. If you give it a good old smack with some Pikmin, and then wait a few seconds, eventually this weird green creature called the Smoky Prog hatches and charges towards your onions, leaving behind a dark gray trail. And if any Pikmin touch this trail, they die. That's it. No saving them. They just die. So the only way to kill it is to throw him on its forehead. But that's easier said than done, because he moves almost as fast as you, so you will inevitably lose some Pikmin. If you somehow defy all logic, and you do defeat it, then the Smoky Prog will drop a golden pearl, which when sucked up into an onion, will give you 100 of whichever type of Pikmin you want. And you better give it to the red Pikmin, because you're going to need them to kill the Emperor Bulblax at the final trial. And if you give it to the yellow Pikmin, then you're dead to me. But now, after I've covered everything I want to talk about at the Distant Spring, it's now time to finish off the video with the number 1 spot. And finally, in the number 1 spot is the Forest Navel from Pikmin 1. I don't even know where to start with this place. It's just the best. But I have realized that it is definitely a kind of thing where you either love it or hate it, and as you can tell, I'm on the side that loves it. I'll start with the music though, as I did with many of the other areas. The music here is by far the best in the series. I love the chill guitar and the background instruments that I unfortunately do not know the names of. It goes perfectly well with the fiery cave environment. If you look at the Forest Navel, it's a cave. Not a forest like the name suggests, so it's dark and dull, but it has 3 different sub-areas there. If you look at a top-down map of the area, you can see there is a main area where the onions and ship land, which leads down to the right section of the map, where the mushroom kind of area is. Then there is a big pond in the bottom left with a ton of wollywogs, which freaking suck, if you're bad at the game, which definitely isn't me. And then the final sub-area is at the top, which is full of water and fire and has this big stone step kind of design. We'll start with the mushroom area. There are only 2 real things there, and they are both bosses. The first one being the beady longlegs, which appears in some form in all of the games. And then the main boss there, the Puffstool, which I used to be terrified of when I was younger, which now makes me love it even more, funny enough. I really like its design and its ability. If you don't know, the Puffstool can spew out spores, which convert your Pikmin into Puffmin, which it then uses to try and kill you. When I was younger and played this game for the first time, I found the Puffstool and just charged at it, expecting to kill it right away like all the enemies in the game so far. But then I got back up and spored all 100 of my Pikmin, which then proceeded to beat the living crap out of me until I died, to which I then rage quit and never played again. Until the next day, when I tried to fight it again, and the same exact thing happened. So I didn't play the game again for like 3 years, and then I went back and destroyed it like it was the easiest thing ever. But I still love this boss. Moving on to the next area, we'll talk about that watery pond area. This is my least favorite area in the Forest Navel, but it's still fun to walk around in, I guess. And even if it's boring, it keeps this cool stuff cool. But there really isn't anything to talk about in this area other than the Wollywogs. But Wollywogs are the most boring thing ever, so we aren't going to talk about them. The final area is the Water Fire Stone Steps place. This area is based on a real-world land formation called Rimstone Dams. But this place is full of water and fire, so you can probably realize that since there is so much water in this area, the Forest Navel is also where you get the blue Pikmin in Pikmin 1, which are my favorite Pikmin in Pikmin 1, even though the reds are definitely superior gameplay-wise. There is just something about them, or it's nostalgia, or both. Either way, I love the blue Pikmin in Pikmin 1. This Rimstone area, as I will now call it, is also where the puzzles are, and it mostly uses height. These puzzles are easy though, and let you get a bunch of parts all at once, which is very, very satisfying when they all go back to the ship and get sucked up one by one. Now, I've already told you a lot of the things that I love about the Forest Navel, but I haven't even gotten to the best part of it yet. Get ready for the most amazing thing you have ever seen in your whole life. The bread bug! If there is anything that will convince you the Forest Navel is the best area in all of Pikmin, it would be the bread bug. To start off, the bread bug is the only enemy that can't hurt you, besides female sheargrubs. So it is a very good bug. It also happens to have a ship part, which is always welcome. The part is one of the 5 optional parts though, so you don't even have to kill the bread bug. And if you do kill it, then you are the reason humanity has failed. The bread bug is also the only quote-unquote enemy that comes to you. He walks around the whole map trying to find you and then stays with you like the pet you wish you had. At this point, if the bread bug hasn't convinced you that the Forest Navel is the best area in all of Pikmin, then you just don't know what's good for you. And with that, I conclude this ranking with the Forest Navel at the top #1 spot. Well, that's the end of the ranking. That's the final area done. Here's a tier list for you, so you can see my opinions in just a few seconds. But for now, I've been AQB Rhino, and thank you for watching.